Earth's last line of defense wasn't supposed to fall in love. Yet here was Commander Sarah Chen, staring at the crystalline being who had just materialized in the heart of Orbital Defense Station Echo 7. The alien's translucent form pulsed with inner light, casting rainbow shadows across the steel walls of the quarantine chamber. "I am Nexus 8, it spoke, its voice resonating like wine through crystal chimes. "I come seeking sanctuary from the Void Collective." Sarah maintained her professional composure, though her heart raced. In 15 years of commanding humanity's orbital defense network, she'd never encountered anything like this. The being before her looked like a masterpiece of living crystal, each facet containing swirling galaxies of light. "Why Earth?" she asked, her hand never straying far from her pulse weapon. "There are thousands of civilizations more advanced than ours." Nexus 8's form rippled, the light within dimming slightly. "Because your species still dreams. The collective, they have forgotten how. They seek to harvest my kind, to use our essence as fuel for their void ships. But you humans, you still look at the stars with wonder." Sarah's tactical training screamed caution, but something in the alien's words resonated deep within her. Humanity had indeed maintained its sense of wonder, even after first contact revealed just how small they were in the cosmic scale. While other species pursued cold efficiency, Earth had somehow preserved its artists, its dreamers, its rebels. "If I grant you sanctuary," Sarah said carefully, "what are the risks to Earth?" The crystalline being's light pulsed faster. "The collective will come. They always do. But I can teach your people to harness the power of crystalline resonance, the same energy that powers their ships. With it, you could stand against them." Before Sarah could respond, the station's alarms blared. Her second-in-command's voice crackled over the comm, "Commander. Multiple void ruptures detected at the edge of the solar system. Collective signatures confirmed." Sarah looked at Nexus 8, whose light had taken on a worried frequency. She had seconds to make a decision that could change humanity's fate forever. Protocol demanded she deny sanctuary, avoid engaging with a superior force. But Earth had never advanced by playing it safe. "Station, this is Commander Chen," she broadcast. "Initiate Protocol Guardian." And she glanced at the crystalline being, making her choice, "Prep the resonance labs. We're about to get a crash course in crystal tech." Nexus 8's form brightened dramatically. "You would stand against the collective?" Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Let's just say humanity has a habit of defying expectations. Now, show me how this resonance thing works. We've got a planet to defend." The crystalline being's light synchronized with the station's emergency strobes, creating an otherworldly display. "Commander Chen, I believe your species calls it teaching moments. Shall we begin?" As Sarah followed Nexus 8 toward the labs, she couldn't help but think that sometimes the greatest discoveries came not from careful planning, but from taking that one impossible chance. Earth's fate now rested on the alliance between a human commander and a being of living crystal, and somehow, that felt exactly right. The void ships would be here soon. But for the first time since humans looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them, they would have the power to stand as equals among the cosmic powers. Sarah Chen, the woman who had sworn to protect Earth, was about to break every protocol in the book. And she couldn't wait to begin. The resonance lab hummed with an otherworldly energy as Nexus 8's crystalline form cast prismatic patterns across the curved walls. Sarah stood before a control panel, her hands hovering over what looked like liquid crystal flowing through transparent channels. The rest of her command staff watched in silent awe as the alien began its instruction. "Crystalline resonance responds to intention," Nexus 8 explained, its voice harmonizing with the ambient hum. "Your emotional state, your clarity of purpose, these shape the energy flow. The collective stripped this understanding from their protocols, turning it into mere mechanics. That is why they hunt us. They cannot generate true resonance anymore." Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the subtle vibrations through her fingertips. The liquid crystal in the channels began to pulse in sync with her heartbeat. Like this? Extraordinary, Nexus 8 whispered. In mere minutes, you've achieved what takes most species years to grasp. Your natural capacity for empathy, for emotional connection, it makes you perfect conduits. The station's tactical officer, Lieutenant James Rivera, stepped forward. Commander, the void ruptures are expanding. First wave of collective ships estimated in 6 hours. Sarah opened her eyes, the crystal now flowing in complex patterns that matched her rising determination. Then we've got 6 hours to turn this station into humanity's first resonance-powered defense platform. Nexus 8, what's next? The crystalline being shifted, extending tendrils of light that interfaced with the station's systems. Your technology is primitive but adaptable. We can modify your shield generators to project resonance fields. But there is something you must understand about facing the collective. The aliens' light dimmed to a serious blue. They do not simply attack. They assimilate. Any human captured will be processed, their capacity for emotion and creativity extracted to fuel their ships. It is a fate worse than death. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, but her voice remained steady. Then we don't let them take anyone. Rivera, begin evacuation of all non-essential personnel. Dr. Zhang, I want you studying every bit of data Nexus 8 can provide about collective vulnerabilities. Lieutenant Patel, coordinate with Earth's defense grid. If we fail up here, they'll need to be ready. As her crew rushed to their tasks, Sarah turned back to the resonance controls. The crystal flows were moving faster now, responding to her heightened emotional state. You said intention matters. What about anger? Fear? Powerful catalysts, Nexus 8 acknowledged, but dangerous. Pure defensive intention is safest. The desire to protect, to preserve. Think of what you love about your world, Commander. Let that guide the resonance. Sarah thought of Earth's oceans at sunset, of children laughing in parks, of humanity's endless capacity to create art and music even in the darkest times. The crystal channels blazed with golden light, and for a moment, the entire station seemed to sing. There, Nexus 8 said softly. You understand. A new alarm blared. Rivera's voice crackled over the comm, Commander. The void ruptures are accelerating. We've got company in 2 hours, not 6. Sarah's hands never left the controls. The crystal flows had become extensions of her will now, dancing with her resolve. Then we adapt. Nexus 8, show me everything. No holding back. Earth isn't just giving you sanctuary, we're going to help you take the fight back to the collective. The crystalline being's form pulsed with surprise. That was not my intention in coming here. Yeah, well, that's the thing about humans, Sarah said, a fierce smile crossing her face. We don't just defend. We stand up for what's right. And enslaving sentient crystals to power your ships? Definitely not right. Throughout the station, crystal channels began to glow as more crew members connected with the resonance technology. Each person's unique emotional signature created different patterns, different harmonies. What had started as a desperate bid for survival was becoming something more, a symphony of human determination. The Void Collective was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or its technology. It was in its heart, in its unshakable spirit. And now, thanks to a refugee made of living crystal, that spirit had found a way to shine across the stars. Sarah Chen, the commander who had chosen to defy protocol and trust her instincts, watched as her station transformed. In 2 hours, they would either make history or become a cautionary tale. Either way, they would show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. The void ships emerged like black tears in the fabric of space, their hulls absorbing starlight rather than reflecting it. Sarah counted 12 of them through the station's observation dome, each larger than anything humanity had ever built. The crystal channels throughout Echo 7 thrummed with nervous energy, reflecting the crew's tension. "They're broadcasting," Lieutenant Patel announced from her communications station. "Text only, universal format." Sarah straightened her uniform. "Let's hear it." The message scrolled across the main display: "Surrender the resonance entity. Comply and your species will be spared processing. You have 10 minutes to respond." "Charming bunch," Rivera muttered, his hands steady on the weapons console despite the fear Sarah could see in his eyes. Nexus 8 floated beside Sarah, its crystalline form dimmed to almost transparency. "They lie. The collective never spares potential resources. Once they identify a species capable of resonance manipulation, assimilation becomes inevitable." Sarah nodded, having expected as much. "Good thing we're not planning to surrender, then." She turned to address her crew. "Everything we've prepared for happens now. Remember your training. Feel the resonance, but don't let fear drive it. We protect Earth. We protect each other. That's all that matters." The crystal channels pulsed with renewed purpose as her words sank in. Throughout the station, hundreds of small crystalline nodes, grown in the frantic hours of preparation, began to glow with inner light. Each one connected to a crew member, each one part of a greater whole. "Collective vessels launching boarding craft," Rivera reported. "Multiple trajectories. They're trying to surround us." Sarah placed her hands on the main resonance control panel. "Nexus 8, you said the collective stripped emotion from their protocols. Let's remind them what they're missing. All stations, initiate resonance shield pattern alpha." Energy surged through the station's crystal network. The crew's combined emotional output, their determination, their courage, their fierce desire to protect, manifested as a shimmering barrier of pure light. The first wave of boarding craft slammed into it and simply dissolved. "By the stars," Nexus 8 whispered. "The harmonics you've achieved, it's unprecedented. Your species' emotional capacity." "Save the analysis for later," Sarah interrupted as more void ships moved into attack position. "They'll adapt. They always do. Time for Phase 2. She opened a channel to engineering. "Dr. Zhang, how's our surprise coming along?" The scientist's excited voice crackled back, "Ready, Commander. Though I still say this is theoretically impossible. Theory's about to meet humanity, Doctor. Execute." Throughout the station, the crystal nodes began to pulse in a new pattern. But this time, instead of creating a defensive barrier, they projected something else entirely: music. Earth's greatest compositions, everything from classical symphonies to rock anthems to indigenous songs, transformed into pure crystalline resonance and broadcast into space. The effect on the collective ships was immediate. Their precise formations wavered as the music turned energy washed over them. Some of their smaller vessels began to move erratically, as if their pilots were fighting for control. "It's working!" Rivera exclaimed. "Their resonance engines are trying to sync with our broadcast. They can't maintain void cohesion." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Turns out you can't completely strip emotion from living crystal. Deep down, it remembers what it was meant to be." Nexus 8, care to add your voice to the symphony? The crystalline being's form blazed with joy as it interfaced with the station's network. Its own resonance, pure and unaltered, joined with humanity's music. The combined effect was beyond anything Sarah had imagined. Space itself seemed to sing. But the collective's largest ship was still advancing, pushing through the disruption through sheer power. Its void weapons began to charge, dark energy gathering at multiple points along its hull. "They're adapting faster than expected," Nexus 8 warned. "The ship's commander, it must be one of the processed. A being who's had all emotion permanently stripped away. Our music can't reach it." Sarah watched the massive vessel approach, her mind racing. "Then we'll have to try something else. Something they'll never expect. Rivera, prepare a targeted resonance burst." Dr. Zhang, I need all power to the main crystal array. And someone get me Earth's defense command. I have a crazy idea. As her crew rushed to comply, Sarah felt the weight of command settle more firmly on her shoulders. They'd bloodied the collective's nose, but the real fight was just beginning. The next few minutes would determine not just Earth's fate, but perhaps the future of emotion itself in this cold, vast galaxy. The Void ship's weapons reached full charge. Sarah tightened her grip on the controls. Sometimes, she reflected, the craziest ideas were the only ones worth trying. The main collective ship loomed before Echo 7 like a hole torn in reality, its void weapons casting shadows that shouldn't exist in space. Sarah's plan had exactly one chance to work, and it required something the collective would never expect: humanity's talent for improvisation. Earth Defense Command confirms readiness, Lieutenant Patel announced. All ground-based crystal arrays are synchronized with our frequency. Sarah nodded, her fingers dancing across the resonance controls. Dr. Zhang, status of the modification? Ready, the scientist called back. Though I still think combining resonance frequencies with orbital mechanics is pure madness. Noted, Doctor. Nexus 8, are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back. The crystalline being's light pulsed with determination. Your species has shown me that some things are worth any risk. I am ready. The Void ship's weapons reached critical charge. Dark energy tendrils began reaching toward the station like hungry shadows. Sarah took a deep breath, then opened a channel to all Earth's defense stations. This is Commander Chen. Execute Operation Harmony. Now. Across the planet below, hundreds of newly installed crystal arrays activated simultaneously. Each one had been tuned to a specific emotional frequency: hope, courage, defiance, love. The combined resonance shot skyward in visible beams of light, converging on Echo 7. Energy input at 300% of predicted levels, Rivera reported, his voice tight with concentration. Crystal network holding, but just barely. Sarah felt the power flowing through the station's systems, pure human emotion amplified beyond anything their alien enemies could comprehend. Nexus 8, begin the sequence. The crystalline being merged with the station's main array, its form becoming a conduit for Earth's combined resonance. But instead of directing it at the Void ship, they did something unprecedented: they aimed it at Earth's orbit itself. Space rippled as the resonance energy interacted with the planet's gravitational field. Subtle at first, then with increasing intensity, a new pattern emerged in the orbital plane. Earth's natural orbital resonance, the mathematical harmony of gravity itself, began synchronizing with the emotional resonance of its people. The Void ship's commander finally realized something was wrong. Its weapons fired, dark energy lancing toward the station. But the shots went wide as space itself seemed to twist. Gravitational lens forming. Dr. Zhang shouted. It's actually working. Sarah allowed herself a fierce grin. Ready the final sequence. Lieutenant Rivera, target their main resonance engine with everything we've got. The Void ship tried to retreat, but it was too late. The combined gravitational and emotional resonance had created a lens in spacetime itself, focusing and amplifying their power. When Sarah gave the command to fire, Echo 7 released not just energy, but the concentrated will of an entire planet. The blast caught the Void ship in its center mass. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then crystalline patterns began spreading across its black hull, transforming the lifeless metal into something alive with light. Their resonance engine is destabilizing, Nexus 8 reported. The emotional feedback, it's awakening the harvested crystals within. Throughout the massive ship, thousands of crystalline beings held in stasis were suddenly exposed to the raw emotion of humanity. They awakened not to the cold protocols of the collective, but to music, to feeling, to life itself. The Void ship's hull cracked, light pouring from within. But it wasn't an explosion, it was a transformation. Where there had been a weapon of cold destruction, there was now a garden of living crystal, each fragment containing a freed consciousness. "Recovery teams, move in," Sarah ordered. "Let's welcome our new friends home." The remaining collective ships retreated in disarray, their own resonance engines fluctuating as the freed crystals began broadcasting their awakening to their enslaved kin. Victory had been achieved not through superior firepower, but through humanity's unique gift, the ability to feel, to connect, to transform. Nexus 8 reformed beside Sarah, its light dimmed with exhaustion but bright with joy. "You didn't just save them," it said softly. "You reminded them who they were. Who we all were, before the collective tried to strip emotion from the galaxy." Sarah watched as rescue shuttles approached the crystalline garden that had been their enemy. Sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy is to remind them they don't have to be your enemy at all. The crystal channels throughout Echo 7 hummed with triumph, with relief, with hope. But there was something else too, a new resonance frequency that hadn't existed before. Where human emotion met crystalline harmony, something new was being born. And Sarah Chen, the commander who had trusted her heart over protocol, knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon had never been its technology, it had been its soul. The crystalline garden floating in Earth's orbit had become a beacon, drawing ships from across the galaxy. Not collective vessels this time, but others, refugees, explorers, and crystalline beings who had hidden from the collective for centuries. Echo 7's observation deck provided a perfect view of the extraordinary migration. Sarah stood at the window, watching as another group of crystal beings interfaced with their newly awakened kin. The garden had grown, its fragments combining and evolving into complex geometric structures that caught sunlight in impossible ways. Behind her, Dr. Zhang's team worked frantically to document everything they were learning about crystal consciousness. "Your world is changing," Nexus 8 observed, floating beside her. Its own crystalline form had evolved since the battle, developing intricate new patterns that pulsed in time with the station's resonance field. "Are you concerned?" Sarah considered the question carefully. In the week since their victory, Earth's governments had been thrown into chaos trying to deal with the implications. Humanity wasn't just part of the galactic community now, they had become its focal point, the species that had found a way to heal the divide between organic and crystalline life. "Change was always coming," she finally replied. "At least this way, we're changing on our own terms. Though I admit, I didn't expect the garden to become quite so popular." As if to emphasize her point, a new ship emerged from hyperspace, this one organic in design, its living hull rippling with bioluminescent patterns. The sixth such vessel to arrive today, carrying representatives from worlds that had previously ignored humanity's existence. "They come because you've done the impossible," Nexus 8 said. "Not just defeating the collective, but healing them. Do you understand how unprecedented that is? In all our history, no species has ever." The crystalline being trailed off as new alerts flashed across the station's monitors. Lieutenant Rivera's voice crackled over the comm, "Commander. We're detecting massive void ruptures at the edge of the system. Different signature from the collective, but big. Really big." Sarah was already moving toward the command center, Nexus 8 close behind. "How big are we talking, Lieutenant?" The tactical display told the story. The void ruptures were unlike anything they'd seen before, not tears in spacetime, but carefully controlled geometric patterns, as if space itself was being folded along crystalline axes. "Those are ancient signatures," Nexus 8 whispered, its light dimming with what Sarah had learned to recognize as awe. "The original crystal beings, from before the collective's purge. We thought they were extinct." The station's crystal channels hummed with increasing intensity as the ruptures stabilized. From them emerged structures that defied human comprehension, vast geometric lattices that seemed to exist in more dimensions than space should allow, each one alive with consciousness. "This is high-resonance contact," Nexus 8 explained quickly. "Commander, your species has drawn the attention of the oldest living beings in the galaxy. Whatever happens next will determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of all crystalline life. Sarah straightened her uniform, feeling the weight of the moment. Then we'd better make a good impression. Lieutenant Patel, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. Dr. Zhang, I want full sensor analysis of those structures. And someone get me Earth's Unified Council, they need to know we're about to have some very interesting visitors. Through the windows, the ancient crystalline structures began arranging themselves in a complex orbital pattern around Earth. Their presence seemed to energize the garden of freed collective crystals, causing new growth and transformations. They're going to want to know how humans achieved emotional resonance so quickly, Nexus 8 said. How you managed to heal the collective crystals instead of destroying them. They'll have so many questions. Good, Sarah replied, watching as the impossible structures drew closer. Because we have questions too. Starting with who they are, where they've been, and why they left their children vulnerable to the collective in the first place. The crystal channels throughout Echo 7 thrummed with anticipation. Humanity's first victory had earned them a place among the stars. Now they would face an even greater challenge, standing as equals before beings who had witnessed the birth of galaxies. Sarah Chen, the commander who had chosen trust over fear, prepared to make history once again. Earth's age of isolation was over. The age of crystal harmony was about to begin.